Hey guys, Derek here. For a while now, the crew and I have been talking about spreading out and doing some more solo projects on the channel. And by more solo projects, we mean that Bobby had some ideas for like review type videos, and the rest of us just kind of stayed stumped. Well, video game reviews have actually been something that I've wanted to do for a hot minute. Around the time when the old channel started to die off, I wanted to start up my own thing, centered around games and shit like that. But I never wanted to just score games on some 8 out of 10 best game of the year, 3.5 this game's an abomination fucking scale. I wanted to find a game that really made me want to gush for a while. Something that gave me the urge to pick it apart and find out just why I like it so much. I really didn't find anything, minus Monster Hunter of course, but that's, we'll save that for a later date. Until a couple weeks ago. About a week ago, I was scrolling on the old Tumblr when I came across a post that caught my eye. It was a drawing of a, at the time, unknown cute pink-haired anime girl holding one of the characters from Read Only Memories. Read Only Memories being a game that has been sitting in my Steam library for what seems like months. I went to go check out what it was for, and within 5 seconds of loading up their page, I was instantly excited. The game's title, Va-11 Hall-A, or Valhalla, had a sleek, cybery title card with the subtitle Cyberpunk Bartending Adventure above it. Pretty much already sold, I scroll down the page a bit more and find a link to the game's soundtrack on Bandcamp. 3 songs later, I'm buying the game half fucking blind. Yeah, I know I should have at least given the gameplay a closer look, but a soundtrack like this and the promise of not only bartending in a cyberpunk world, but also what the kids call waifus. I didn't need no gameplay. Valhalla tells the story of Jill, a bartender at the aforementioned bar in the cramped cityscape of Glitch City. A dystopian future world where robots, known as Lilim, walk the streets, and a flying car crash is just the everyday event. Glitch City is described in the opening credits as a city that shouldn't exist, a place where nanomachines keep track of the inhabitants, and the White Knight police force are always somewhere around the corner. Everything comes together to describe a landscape that completely drains everyone living in it, making its inhabitants lose hope in finding some new source of happiness in their life. To just keep their heads to the ground and do the work they need to do to provide for their family and loved ones. I can't even get cliche and say some garbage like, at first glance, Valhalla looks like any other old visual novel. Because it doesn't. Well, maybe I should say any other current visual novel. Between the game's options to turn on an old school style scanline overlay, and a layout that's just cramped enough to feel like a trip back to the early 80s or 90s of VNs, this game already sets itself up for a nostalgic feel. And the music, my god! The soundtrack of this game is a fucking one. Tracks like Every Day is Night, Who Was I? And Drive Me Wild. Have this perfect mix of velvety synth, pop and tom hits, and a real sense of futuristicness. It may sound kinda cheesy since every piece for the soundtrack was obviously made with this in mind, but each track fits right in here. Tracks like Snowfall and Everything Will Be Okay. Give off reassuring vibes, like they would come on in your mind in the middle of a cool fall stroll just after midnight, walking through the park on your way home after a fated encounter with the woman you're going to marry in 3 years, and divorce in 5. Then there are tracks like Your Love Is a Drug, sounded like it was ripped straight out of something like Bubblegum Crisis or Patlabor, so you know I'm there for that. I don't think I've driven around to anything else the past few weeks, besides maybe the new Kodak Black and Dikembe albums. But that's a topic for another time, I guess? I don't know. Well, backing up a little bit, maybe cramped isn't the right word to use when talking about the UI, because everything on the screen has some purpose. Well, everything except for the title in the top right corner, but we'll look past that. And that even gets replaced with a small music player if you hit the jukebox button on the control panel. This is a pro tip, because my ass didn't figure this out until the last 2 hours of my first playthrough. The right side of the screen is filled up by Valhalla's main draw, the piece to its puzzle that differentiates it from most other games in the genre. In between chatting up with your customers, you'll have to mix drinks for them, with the chance to change dialogue trees and to get to different endings based on what you give them. Do you give them exactly what they want, or do you go rogue and give them a drink that's far too big, or even something entirely different? The bartending elements give you just enough of something to do that it keeps you engaged during chunks of exposition about a character's past, or how they feel about the city. Personally, I find it fun to load a drink that says, optional Karmatrine, this game's equivalent of alcohol, up to the goddamn brim with the stuff, just to see if something fun happens. Nothing says a good time like a Jack and Coke with 1 parts cola and 17 parts Jack. Or, you know, a better whiskey. I feel like a lot of people are a little weary when they see the word dystopia in their media. While the genre has started to die out a little bit, there was a time a few years ago where it felt like there was a new young adult movie about a ragtag group of rebels rising up to fight an evil corporation every couple months. Now don't get me wrong, like what you like, and those movies are in no way, shape, or form made for my 22-year-old ass. But you can still feel the general tinge in the air around us younger people, that they've gotten sick and tired of those played-out stories. That's why this story has really caught on for me. Through Jill's eyes and the conversations she has with the patrons of Valhalla, including but not limited to, her boss Dana, a mystery woman who's seemingly taken up the mantle of every single wild and crazy job imaginable before settling down at this fine establishment. Gil, a real dork and mystery man whose past he hopes never catches up with him. Dorothy, a Lilum sex worker who gives us a little too much of a glimpse at the underbelly of Glitch City. Alma, a part-time hacker and full-time
my wife.
Kira Miki, one of the biggest pop idol Lilum in the world, and many more interesting characters. You start to see this city through a more subtle lens. Yes, the world outside of Valhalla is still seemingly in shambles. Banks are being held hostage and bombed with death tolls that would send shockwaves through the spines of people today, but feel almost commonplace for our characters. I mean, of course they're shaken up by these kind of events, but they give off more of a been there, done that sort of vibe to the feeling. The idea of Dorothy, a Lilum who was built to look 10 to 13 for the rest of her robotic life being a sex worker, should hopefully disgust the viewer. But aside from a few passing comments, no one is necessarily thrown off by it. There are actual, factual, talking brains in jars. Talking brains in jars! In any other story like this, that could be the main focal point. I mean, shit, that's basically what Psychopaths ended up being about. But here, it's just a part of what makes the future in Glitch City what it is. Jill's far more concerned with paying her rent and having to live with the choices she's made than trying to save the world or anything like that. In between workdays, you can even go out to the store and pick up a knickknack or two to keep Jill from getting too distracted during her shift. If you don't do that, or worse, you miss one of the many bills this poor girl has to pay being an actual, factual, functioning adult. Being distracted during a shift makes it hard to recall what your patrons want, since Jill will be too busy pulling her hair out to just go, "Ah yes, Alma wanted a brandy teeny." As the story unfolds, we learn more about her past, and how she ended up at Valhalla. She has to deal with the consequences of her actions, no matter how much they may weigh on her. And in the end, once that weight has been lifted from her shoulders, and her life starts to come back together piece by piece, you feel like you've been growing along with her. This game as a whole spends a lot of time talking about the human mind, social connection, and the tried but true science fiction topic of, is this even real? How do we know we're not in some simulation, man? But, in the grand scheme of things, her life isn't all that important. Yes, there are moments in the story that shake her and rightfully anyone else to their very core. The events surrounding all of our characters may push their inner and outer narrative forward to the extremes that we can't even possibly grasp ourselves. But at the end of the day, that's all just another part of what makes this city and future what it is. A bleak yet polished possibility, where anyone and everyone can vent their sorrows away over a sugar rush, while being draped in neon signs on the verge of dying out and sweet synth riffs. This game rocks. It really has been a while since a game came out of left field like this for me and knocked my socks off with similar impact. I just finished my first playthrough, and you best know I'm about to jump right into New Game Plus. There's a ton that I know I missed out on, but thankfully New Game Plus lets you worry about getting to the 6 other endings easier without worrying too much about the little micromanaging aspects of Joe's life. If you're someone like me who has had an interest in visual novels, but every time you try to pick up something seems a staple in the genre like Shuffle, or try your hand at something newer like The Fruits of Grisaya, and just can't feel yourself getting into it, I highly recommend Valhalla. The way the story is delivered feels just natural enough that you feel like you're reading a conversation between two of your own friends. Can the story get a little memey here and there? Yeah, but is that a bad thing? I guess it's all about your take on it. There were some references that I thought were really clever, even if they were a little in your face. And some honestly felt like how people speak normally. Shit, we all sit around and we're all a bunch of meme-loving fucks anyways. If you don't care about visual novels though, I still think there's enough here for you to enjoy. Between the music and all-around style, I think anyone can have a fun time with this. Hey guys, thanks for watching. This was honestly really tough, but a fun experience nonetheless. Hopefully I'll find the time to make some more of these kinds of videos sooner or later. Probably Monster Hunter, because I gave a little nod at the beginning of the video. I fucking love that game. Yeah, so I just want to leave you guys with, a couple plugs at the end. Obviously, number one is our channel, this channel. If you got here through some external sources, we're a couple friends, 5 friends, we make Let's Plays. It's not that funny, but, sometimes we're pretty funny, actually. You can get a kick out of us. Secondly, buy the game. Links here on screen and in the description. It's a great game, and the devs deserve your money for it. It was honestly a blast. Lastly, my friend Cam let me use some of their music as background noise, so that this wasn't just my boring-ass, monotone-ass voice going on and on. So go give him a check out on Tracer at Bandcamp and SoundCloud. No, it's not Tracer, the one with the ass from Overwatch. It's the act of tracing, I'm guessing. Anyway, thank you guys, and I hope to see you soon.